Jeevan, let me tell you a story. For years, I believed what everyone else believed, though, that Adam Smith was the guy who said, bro, relax, the market will fix everything.
Picture this. Adam Smith wakes up in 2025, opens YouTube, sees a bunch of people using his name to defend giant corporations, and immediately faints. Now imagine this scene. You're living in 1700s Britain, and there's a company not...
Okay, listen. Adam Smith ka naam to sab use Cardi Hain, right? Invisible hand, this free market that... But here's the plot twist. The poor guy never said any of the things people quote him for. Like, imagine writing a book warning about greedy businessmen, and 200 years later those same businessmen start using your name as their brand logo. Bro, if Adam Smith was alive today, he'd be like, who did this to my reputation? Alright, let me tell you the real story. Most people think they already know what capitalism is supposed to be. Free markets, tiny government, everyone chasing their own interests, and somehow society magically organizing itself. And if you ask who invented that idea, everyone proudly says the same name. Adam Smith, the powdered wig guy, father of economics, patron saint of leave everything alone. Except, he never actually believed any of that. Not even close. And the funniest part is, the people who quote him the loudest today are often the exact same people he warned us about. Before we talk about the invisible hand, we need to talk about the real Adam Smith, not the Instagram quote version. The last 100 years built a whole mythology around him. Government should stay out, markets should run free, competition naturally makes everything better. It's a neat story, very convenient, also completely fake. If Adam Smith came back and saw what people did with his name, he'd probably ask, who rewrote my book and why did you delete all the warnings? Smith grew up in 1723 Scotland, not exactly the Silicon Valley of the Enlightenment. Back then, free markets didn't exist. The economy looked more like a bad group project. Guilds controlling prices, royal monopolies controlling trade, cartels running entire industries, and giant corporations like the East India Company basically acting like a private country with its own army. This was the world Smith studied, a world where money and political power were glued together. And Smith? He spent most of his career warning that whenever businessmen get too much influence, they will absolutely twist the rules to benefit themselves. He straight up wrote that when people of the same trade meet together, they usually end up conspiring against the public. Translation: when businessmen hang out, regular people lose. So, yeah, not really the cheerleader for no regulation that people pretend he was. Another fun twist. Adam Smith didn't even consider himself an economist. He was a moral philosopher. His first major book wasn't about markets, it was about empathy, fairness, and the psychology behind why we treat each other decently or don't. He believed morality holds society together, not greed. Kind of the opposite of how some people use his name today. And then there's the famous invisible hand, possibly the most overhyped metaphor in economic history. He used the phrase only 3 times. Not 3 chapters, literally 3 times across everything he ever wrote. And none of them describe markets magically fixing themselves. Let's see what he actually meant. The first time he used the phrase, he was talking about ancient superstition, people blaming confusing events on the gods. Zero connection to markets. The second time, the famous one, he describes a merchant who prefers investing at home instead of abroad because he's scared of the risks. His fear accidentally helps the domestic economy. That's it. Not a deep law of economics. Just sometimes scared guys do helpful things by accident. And the third time he uses it, he's talking about rich landowners who hoard land like greedy dragons but end up feeding the poor a little because they physically can't consume everything they collect. Not generosity, just biology. You can own 10,000 acres, but you can still only eat 1 dinner a day. And those 3 little metaphors somehow turned into a global economic doctrine. How? Because over the 20th century, economists, politicians, and corporate lobbyists decided the invisible hand was a great excuse to argue against regulation. Industrial giants and robber barons needed legitimacy, and a simplified version of Adam Smith was perfect for that. Then the Cold War made it even worse. Capitalism needed a mascot, so they grabbed Smith's name and left out everything he actually believed. What did they skip? Oh, just the parts where he warned that unchecked merchants would deceive and oppress the public. and the pages where he said monopolies destroy real competition, and the arguments he made for government involvement in education, infrastructure, banking, and preventing corporate capture. You know, the important stuff. Fast forward to today, and the irony is painful. We have tech giants shaping information, retail monopolies crushing competition, and banks so big that when they fail, countries have to rescue them. These aren't free markets. These are extremely polite cartels with great branding. And yet policymakers still repeat the invisible hand like it's some cosmic quality control department. Smith would probably just stare at all of this and say, "Did no one actually read my book?" The truth is, Smith never believed markets magically fix everything. He believed humans are flawed, systems need rules, and power needs boundaries. His actual message was about balance. Markets that innovate, governments that keep them honest, and societies that demand fairness. The invisible hand wasn't supposed to save us. It was just a metaphor, and honestly, not even an important one. Smith's whole point was that if you want a healthy economy, you can't just hope for magic. You have to build systems that prevent abuse and protect people. History doesn't repeat itself, but it will absolutely run you over if you misunderstand it. If this gave you a new angle on Adam Smith, hit subscribe. History has the answers, you just need to know where to look.